Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Tool Belt Podcast, brought to you by Plant Services. I'm Tom Wilk, the Chief Editor of Plant Services, and in this episode, I talked to Haven Allen, the CEO and co-founder of mHUB, a leading hardtech and manufacturing innovation center in Chicago. Haven Allen checked in with us to talk about some of the ways that mHUB is helping drive the next generation of digital plants, as well as connecting workers with training and job opportunities in an industrial landscape that is only going more digital by the day.
The first one is kind of a biggie. I'm just noticing several inflection points that have all come together, right? First, you've got the COVID pandemic, and then you've got people who are rethinking energy plans in the wake of a new administration who very likely will rejoin the Paris Global Warming Accords, and then the general Industry 4.0 transformation in general. Haven, what are your thoughts on how industry handles all these inflection points at the same time?
Well, yeah, and then just, a general realignment of, I would say, supply chains that are going to happen globally because of COVID. I don't know. I mean, I've definitely witnessed the manufacturing industry be very resilient, and they've had to be as, for the last 20 years, there's just been this constant battle. I mean, Industry 4.0 isn't anything new. Machine-to-machine communication, robotics, and automation has been going on for 20 to 30 years. It's just now, I think, price points are starting to come down where there's going to be a higher level of adoption by manufacturers. And I just know from some of the startups that are at mHUB, they're creating plug-and-play situations to, get that predictive analytics, to incorporate those sensors. And it's no longer that you have to bring in a whole consultant, reconfigure your lines. You can take existing infrastructure and use some of these plug-and-play solutions like Amper technology and immediately be Industry 4.0. It's a battle for productivity, and it always has been. And I think the manufacturers that have continued to invest in continuous improvement, continuous to guard their trade secrets, create new trade secrets on the way that they do the production, they're going to win out.
Okay. Well, and do you see these kind of solutions like you're talking about, the new plug-and-play solutions which enable sort of quick reconfiguration? Do you see these new solutions as helping industry tackle more than one of those problems at a time, like easing the issue of tight resourcing from sick-outs at the same time as they're enabling digital, because you've got technology that can streamline, the workload and also just make it more efficient?
In some instances, absolutely. But I think there's all the startup activity going on in the Industry 4.0 and the energy sustainability space, the connected worker, the connected work site. And, there's still standard protocols that are being created, either from like a cybersecurity standpoint or just the way that these Internet of Things devices are communicating with each other. And there's still some things that need to play out in that respect. And then from there, ultimately an integration. But, you can sort of piecemeal things together. I think every day, every year, it's becoming easier, cheaper, and providing you with more access to data, or at least enabling you to use more of the data that you're generating.
Okay. Well, if I could turn to the MRO sector in particular, there's been a lot of challenges in this sector, especially with making up for a lot of the boomer generation who are retiring right now. When I started with Plant Services 6 years ago, it was just on the horizon, maybe starting to happen, and now we're in full-blown mode where people are trying to figure out what they do to fill the positions. What are some of the things that you've seen mHUB and its partners doing to target the next generation of workers and pull them into this side of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, mHUB was set up as a space that provided people with access to equipment, talent, technical training, business training, in order to allow people the access they need to launch new hard tech and manufacturing companies. I think before a place like mHUB, you went to university, you went to your technical training program, And then the only way you would have access to very capital-intensive equipment would be through generally your employer. And now mHUB and centers like mHUB are providing, very capital-intensive, very technical equipment to people so that they can innovate, they can create, they can optimize their products. And I think that's going to launch a whole new wave of hard tech and manufacturing companies. But it's also, it's becoming an attraction in itself for young kids to come and see the latest and greatest 3D printers and robotics. And I don't know, I think there's a reinvigoration going on right now where people are excited about hard tech, the STEM, the hard sciences, and in the long run, it's going to play out. And on top of that, for us, we definitely host interns with the local high school systems to attract people, making sure that that idea of you can't be what you can't see. We want to make sure that everybody can see what's happening now in manufacturing, both on the creation and the making side of things. And besides that, we launched a program. Well, I'll back up. The last 2 years, we've been focusing on generally removing financial barriers of entry for entrepreneurs and the people that want to launch manufacturing companies. And we've done that initially from two different lenses. One, with mHUB, we have 270 startups active today. There's over 600 engineers in our talent pool, and many of them need supplemental income in order to be able to go after their entrepreneurial pursuit, their small business pursuit. And we've actually, over the last 2 years, have contracted our pool of engineers out to small and medium-sized manufacturers for short-term R&D projects. It's not production work, but, we're sending teams out into the field to, do all sorts of automation, incorporate co-robotics, sensors into existing lines, to developing whole new products that are quickly scaling up through some of our manufacturing partners. So, and it's a great win-win because the manufacturers get access to this deep talent pool, but then the startups are right now, we're pushing about $80,000 to $100,000 a month in contracting work into our community, and we think that can grow twofold by the end of this year. So almost you can join the industry, get paid, but then also create your new manufacturing business at the same time. And then on the other side, just the access to risk capital. mHUB just did a first closing on a early stage pre-seed fund, and this is really targeting individuals that are spinning new technology, new products out of universities or even in their garages at home. And what we're going to invest is $75,000 cash into 10 startups, provide about $56,000 worth of engineering design support, fabrication support, and program support to really both build their product, their supply chain. We also have some of our manufacturing partners set up as piloting some of these technologies. And then on the other side, really focused on building up the business and leadership capacity through, everything from assigning mentors or taking people through our education and curriculum. We'll invest in 60 startups over the next 3.5 years. And we'll do so, our first vertical is in the industrial Internet of Things space. So we have open applications. It's a national search for the 10 best early stage startups in industrial Internet of Things. Applications right now are scheduled to close December 21st, but we already have 205 applications that have started. And our initial goal was to get 250 to narrow down to that 10. So it looks like we're going to definitely track right to that. In April/May, we'll be opening up the next cohort for medical technologies. And then we're in conversations with some of our partners right now for a cohort focused on smart mobility and smart cities, and then a third one on energy and sustainability. Every 6 months we'll be investing in 10 teams and building their products, but going hand in hand and building their business, which I think all of this is new from a manufacturing and hard tech space. This type of activity has existed obviously for the last 2 decades in software and digital side of things, and it's really just starting to spur up, particularly here in the Midwest. on this early stage startup. So hopefully that attracts a lot more people into the industry. And then just going back to the workforce, I had the pleasure of being nominated by the mayor of Chicago to sit on the Chicago Cook Workforce Board. It's the Chicago Cook County Workforce Investment Board. From the Department of Labor, we have about $70 million a year to invest in training programs and, incumbent worker training, dislocated worker training, and manufacturing is definitely one of those high areas for us. And, when you talk about maintenance and repair, I know just that those are where we're seeing a lot of growth in the industry, like those maintenance mechanics, the mechatronics, especially as things become more automated and more robotic driven. There's a very technical, high-paying job that's going to be created where it's about keeping the machines running more than making the things. And I think that that's all just starting to really play out in the system, and it will continue to accelerate as more automation is adopted.
Yeah, that's automation equipment is top of the list when we do a survey with our readers on what they're going to purchase next year. 40% of the respondents said they're looking to automate, add more automated equipment. And we, like you're saying, we don't take that as a potential loss of jobs. We see that as a potential either break even or increase, because you need people to help keep that equipment running and integrate it all. Let me ask the energy efficiency question, if I could, before we talk about general digitalization. I just got this hunch that next year is going to be a big year for that topic, as you see a shift, especially, for example, automakers not trying to go after efficiency standards any longer, like GM withdrew from their lawsuit over that this week. I keep hearing rumblings about microgrids as a good idea for plants who want, and as you do have electric car fleets roll out, you're going to need the best smart grid possible, the most robust, reliable. Is that what you're hearing too? That there's going to be a sort of a open market or increase in attention in this area?
Potentially. I mean, definitely if you look at the president's plan around green tech, it seems like subsidies and investment will be something that is prioritized again in this country. I would say at the same time, though, you look, just the price of renewable energies, the price of storage, the price of battery technology, the vastness of competing storage and battery technologies that are starting to be developed out of our universities and national labs. It's an exciting time. And then, you throw in microgrids and the ability to really store, and it's, I don't know. I don't think it's next year that there's some revolution happening, but it's happening right now, and there's a lot of competing technologies that will play out. And when we look at back 5-10 years from now, I think microgrids, having battery storage, like air conditioning units on the side of houses to connection where you're both able to harvest energy when it's cheap and extend it when it's expensive. There's a lot of things that are going to play out, and it's an exciting time with all the investments that were probably made early in the 21st century, and then to see it now get more fuel on the fire. It's a perfect time to reprioritize that. As some of this technology has played out, some of it the market has spoken, and opportunities are being created. So it's an exciting time.
It is. I see articles, at least one a day in the more mainstream press, about either efforts to find a lithium mine in the American Southwest to reduce an import costs, or again, GM withdrawing their support for a rollback on efficiency regulations, and then we get a story about plants putting solar on the plant roof to help defray electrical. So it's all adding up. It really
it's amazing. And all these new cars that are coming out with 500-mile ranges, and what that means when you have that connected into a grid system. It's exciting time, definitely.
Well, let me go to the last question, and I think we'll have enough questions. And it's a general question about digitalization. One of the things that we've noticed in talking to our readers is that some plants are either delaying going digital or they're not sure where to start. There's a simultaneous trend where a lot of OEMs, say a compressor manufacturer or maybe even a valve manufacturer, are embedding wireless technologies and network technologies into the machine so they can collect data on performance simply to keep up with the competition. What are your thoughts on plants who are delaying this sort of thing? Can they stay competitive over the next 5-10 years, or is the market really kind of making the decision for them, and before too long it's just going to be certain standard turnkey items where either your assets are networked or you don't get them?
Yeah, it's tough because I think the big OEMs want broad visibility into the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers. And a lot of manufacturing becoming just in time, having that visibility is essential for them to do the integration that they do. And I don't know. I think it ultimately depends on who the manufacturer is, contracting and doing work with. You look at like the National Network of Advanced Manufacturing Institutes, and specifically MXD, which is in Chicago. The Department of Defense has put in $100 million into that center and developing, and now it's way over. It's like approaching $150 million. But just to create that digital manufacturing, those digital twins, the cybersecurity, and it's being driven by DoD and OEM manufacturers, and ultimately sort of getting pushed through the supply chains. And I don't know. It would be, I think, more encouraging to see some of the tier 3, tier 4s be a bit more proactive. There's also just a lot of noise out there for them. So, I don't know. And so many things, again, just market-wise competing out where, to do basic predictive analytics on a single CNC machine would have cost, I don't know, $10,000, $20,000 3 or 4 years ago. And now you can buy $100 piece of a sensor that plugs right in and is wireless and has a $10 a month sort of service fee, and that's immediately dropped the price down for anybody. So I wouldn't say like if they're not adopting right now, that's fine. Not 5 years from now, they definitely should be aware of the technologies that are emerging and how it fits in with their operations. 10 years from now, it's just going to be required by industry to have some sort of visualization, some sort of access to the analytics. And I don't know. And the machines are becoming pretty amazing and producing the data that if you know how to use it, and it can unlock a lot of value.
No, I hear you. I completely understand. We do keep hearing about, especially OEMs, saying they simply need that information to stay in business. Right. Because if they don't understand how to make, this is the way these days you get competitive knowledge on how to build a better product. And come out with what you said about the DoD investment. That's a factor I hadn't considered. Where it's absolutely going to be driven from that direction too, government support.
It's an exciting time though. I mean, we always look at like the price of components, the price of battery storage, the ability to store and compute in the cloud. All like the technology that was developed around the cell phones, 5G now coming online. It's unlocking. It's creating more access than it ever has, so more people can engage in this innovation. But it's just creating way more opportunities than you could have said 2007 when the iPhone came out. Like, it hasn't been that long ago, but in between the last 13 years. All the price and all the technology, the cost has been driven down. The access has been made more profuse, and it's enabling the creation of simple devices that you couldn't even imagine creating because they would have been cost prohibitive 10 years ago.